It's me, Geordie Pete Redding, and it's Hollywood Balls, and we're looking forward to the weekend. So it can only mean one thing. I've got to catch up with the main man, Kevin Campbell. How are you, Kev?
Pete, I am absolutely fantastic. Fantastic, mate.
Good stuff. It's been a while, so just wonder what you've been up to. What have you been doing currently? Because I know you're the busiest man in the world.
Yeah, I've been down the smoke, Pete. I've been in London, back home. I've been recharging the batteries in London. I've been working down there and seeing some family and friends and stuff like that. So
you're not signing for the Arsenal again, are you?
Well, I was trying, Pete. I was trying, but I'm too old now. I'm too old for that. But brilliant.
Speaking of Arsenal, we've got to start with the Community Shield. The reaction. I mean, it was a great game, and you know, I always think if you're on the losing side, it's a friendly. If you're on the winning side, it's still a trophy. But Pete, it's a yardstick, isn't it, Kev?
Pete, you know as well as I do, there is no such thing as friendlies. There's no such thing, especially when there's a bit of silverware to go for. You look at that Liverpool side. Liverpool meant business. There's only two players who weren't part of their best 11.
Yeah.
And you look at Arsenal's team, it was, you know, you had Mohamed El Neni in it and players like that, Rob Holding at the back, you know, Eddie Nketiah, Saka in the team, you know, it was a young side. And they performed brilliantly. You know, the Mikel Arteta effect is come into it. Obviously, Liverpool, we know it's still a bit early, a couple of weeks before the season starts. But with that Liverpool side, you would expect, they had all the big hitters, really, didn't they? You know, your Van Dijks and Mo Salah and all these guys. But Arsenal got across the line, albeit on penalties in the end. But, you know, if Arsenal had taken their chances in the first half, Pete, it would have been all over.
It would have been all over. And just something else I want to touch on is, Liverpool had all their big hitters. Is it a yardstick for the season? I watched Salah, well, when I could spot him, and the other guys. Do you think that Liverpool, in order to defend their title, I think they need something else. I mean, I think that people are going to be, they've won the league, deservedly so. I think people are going to be out to get them this season.
Pete, in football, when you are going for the top team, it's a lot easier than having a target on your back. Now Liverpool have a target on their back. Liverpool are going to get the best of everybody now. And, you know, this is why it's so hard to retain the title. Now, if Liverpool drop off a couple of %, they will not win it because City are only going to get stronger. And obviously you drop off a couple of % from your maximum and you will not be able to do it. So obviously this is what being the champions is all about. Jurgen Klopp's going to have to find a way to do it.
Yeah, he is indeed, and we're talking about transfers. So we'll kick on with that because it's right in full effect at the moment. Leeds are going big guns spending, but there's a couple that stand out for me. Kev.
By the way, Pete. I've got to let me just cut into you there. Leeds played Stoke yesterday.
They did,
and Stoke whooped them 3-0. And I know some of the main hitters ain't there, but they're still now a Premier League side. And Stoke whooped them. So maybe all isn't rosy in that garden.
They've got their shiny new strips. They've got their new players. But I will come on to the friendlies in a bit, Kev, because it's something that was, you talk about whoopings. Newcastle got one yesterday. And I want to ask you your opinion on that. But going back to the transfers, Gabriel to Arsenal, is he the real deal, do you think?
Pete, I was so pleased you mentioned that, Pete. Get in there. Listen, this is the longest contracted transfer. Apparently, he'd come for a medical. This medical was longer than it must have been a coma because all this time we've been waiting. I think he's still actually on quarantine, Pete,
right,
to be honest. So obviously they've had to do bits behind closed doors, etc., with him, a bit of Zoom and stuff like that. But finally, it's been announced, and do you know what, Pete? This is the signing. I think Saliba, obviously, last season we knew we were getting him, but we know what the team lack and the
Mm.
team lacked pace at centre back. And this guy has got speed, he's tenacious, and he's a left footer, which ticks off so many boxes for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta and Edu have done it again. They've made a difference. And now, listen, announce Aubameyang, Pete, and I'm done. I'm telling you, I'm done. Announce Aubameyang, I'm done.
Kev's retired from Hollywood balls.
No, I'm not retired. I just said I'm done. I'm done for the window. I'm done. Any more is just icing on top of the cherry.
So just to add to that, Gabriel, if that is the real deal, is that why the two are getting Holding on loan?
Yeah, I think so. Well, you wouldn't take Mustafi, so you get Holding.
Take anyone at the moment, mate.
Well, look, I think you need sort of an upgrade in certain areas anyway. And you need players who are going to fight for the shirt. And Rob Holding is a good British lad. Listen, he's a good player.
He played well in the Charity Shield, by the way. He had a good game.
He did. He played well. And listen, and he played well in the FA Cup as well, Pete. He's got winners' medals now and all that kind of thing. So he's good. I think he's got a couple of FA Cup winners' medals, etc. So he's a good player, and it will be an upgrade in that Newcastle side. But we know what Newcastle need, Pete, don't you? You need goals. That's what Newcastle need. You need that threat. And I believe, Pete, Newcastle are starting to make some moves.
They are, and the only thing, Kev, is, and I don't like to be downbeat about it all, but and you actually can't blame Mike Ashley for once. The club's in limbo, as we've said, so of course he's going to look at loan signings. But back in the day, from a fan's perspective, when you got a player on loan, I reckon it was about 70, 80% that player would sign. Now, is it just a case of that player's going out to get experience? And then they end up going back to their parent club, and Newcastle are back to square one.
Well, I don't. Do you know what, Pete? I think the Rob Holding, you get Rob Holding on loan. I think that could be with a view to a permanent, because Rob Holding, I think he was at Bolton before Arsenal signed him, so he knows what it's like up north. Newcastle are a huge club, and to play up there and to feel what it's like, playing in front of the Toon Army, I think that could be a connection made in heaven, to be honest. I think that could be a really good signing for Newcastle, to go with Lascelles and all these guys. So, I beg to maybe differ with you a little bit on that one. I think that could be good for Newcastle.
Good stuff.
But it's the striker. Come and talk about the striker.
Yeah, we need to talk about a striker, because at the end of the day, you were saying about Leeds yesterday. Newcastle, they put out a pretty strong side in the last 24 hours against Middlesbrough. And I know from my Middlesbrough media pals, they had a second side out and they spanked 5 past Newcastle yesterday. And of course, there was literally no threat on goal for Newcastle. You've got Andy Carroll, who scored a couple in pre-season. How long is he going to stay fit? Who else have they got? Dwight Gale's injured for the next 3 or 4 months, I believe. And our great friend Joe Linton, well, he's in isolation.
Right.
Literally.
So he's literally in isolation. So, I mean, look, there's rumours of Callum Wilson from Bournemouth.
Yes.
And I think this is business that Newcastle have to do, Pete. They have to do this business, because I don't think you can rely on Joe Linton to carry the team.
No.
I think he'll get some goals here and there, but I think he's more of a foil for somebody like a Callum Wilson, big, strong, quick, England international as well. I think that is very important for Newcastle to get a renowned striker.
Very much so. Now, moving on to Man United, because, I mean, gosh, if they didn't already have a talented midfield, Van de Beek to Man United, to sit alongside Bruno Fernandes, Pogba, but that's a heck of a signing, isn't it?
Yeah, I like this player, but will he start? I mean, I don't particularly know whether he'll actually start. Obviously, there's the likes of Matic, who is another year on now in his career. Still a stalwart player, but I'm not too sure how Van der Beek's going to be used or utilised. I know Pogba doesn't want to play sitting. That's for sure. Van der Beek can do it, but he's only done it in
Just to confirm, you said doesn't want to play.
Oh, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to play holding midfield. You know, he doesn't want to play there. Paul Pogba, which I don't blame him, to be honest, Pete, because he's a lot better further forward. You know, creating stuff. So Van der Beek can do it. How good is he at it? I'm not too sure. He's only ever done it for Ajax in the Eredivisie, and you know, Premier League's a little bit different. So I'm sure Man United fans would want a more specific game ready guy to play there, but it's going to be exciting times for that Manchester United midfield, that's for sure.
With that player Van der Beek, did you know there's an Arsenal connection there, because his lovely girlfriend is the one and only daughter of Dennis Bergkamp?
Oh, well, listen, there's always connections to Arsenal, but you know, unfortunately, we can't afford him. It's just like that. We've got our eyes on other things. Arsenal got other different priorities. Thomas Partey, obviously, is one of them, and that Aouar, who's at Lyon, he's another one. I think they're the next two who Mikel Arteta and Edu are going to have to try and work some magic. Probably have to get a few players out the club as well, Pete. In order to generate some funds. So we'll see.
Before I move on to one of your other old clubs, Everton, I do have to mention Chelsea, because they have had that checkbook open. And I read a very interesting article this week, Kev, that he spent quite a bit of money on some very exciting players. Is it time to step up to the plate for Frank this season?
Well, I think he's got no hiding place this season. You know, last season was kind of a year where he could test the water. He couldn't sign anybody at the start, so we can start integrating some of those quality youngsters that they've developed over the years, and it's the Mason Mounts and the Tammy Abrahams and all these guys, you know, Reece James and stuff. They've integrated now into the squad, but obviously the way the season finished, they qualified for the Champions League, which I'm sure was his remit, but losing the FA Cup final the way they did, obviously he had to think to himself, you know, we need more firepower. We need to be able to challenge, and we want to be challenging for the title. So he goes out and he's made some significant signings. You know, Ziyech and all these guys, Timo Werner. There's rumours are not done yet that Havertz is going there. You know, Thiago Silva at the back, fantastic captain material. Very experienced, will bring on the likes of Christian Andersen and stuff like that, Christensen. So it's going to be interesting to see how Chelsea start, because if they don't start well, the pressure is going to be on Frank, that's for sure.
And you think that pressure will be, it's a funny thing, because, you know, he's one of Chelsea's favourite sons, but it doesn't always mean that it's going to bring success. The owner and owners, They've obviously splashed the cash, but as I say, it's time for Frank to really step up, because, as you say, if they don't get a good start, and will they end up? I mean, having to sack Frank Lampard could be a nightmare for them.
Well, look, I'm not going to say sack just yet, Pete, but you know, with spending money comes a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Now, obviously, Frank didn't really have. He had pressure, but the pressure was kind of eased because everyone kind of understood the issues the problems that they had. They got the checkbook out very, very early since the break. So they're going to be looking for Chelsea to kick on. If Chelsea don't kick on early, and I know it's a long season, but what it does, it adds extra pressure when you spend money. And if you don't start well, obviously that just brings more pressure. Brings a lot of questions. People start questioning your thoughts, and can you actually handle some of these players, the better players, on spending money? So that question will be leveled at Frank if they don't start well.
Moving over to Everton, James Rodriguez.
Yes.
Do you know what? For me, that is a really, really, it's a great opportunity. And again, but we talked a few weeks back on Hollywood Balls about what Ancelotti brings to Everton. You know, he's so well respected. He's just an absolutely fantastic manager. He's a proven winner. So it's probably no surprise to see that name at Everton.
Yeah, being linked. Yeah, Pete, you are bang on. James Rodriguez respects Carlo Ancelotti. Carlo Ancelotti's managed him a couple of times,
Yeah.
and there's that respect there. I think he sees Carlo Ancelotti as a father figure while he's been in Europe as well. And he's a player who he's got so much quality, but he's been kind of in the wilderness at Real Madrid, if we're honest. And he's got far too much to offer than us being shown at Real Madrid. It's a tough school at Real Madrid to get any game time. But, if he goes in at Everton, which I really hope he does, he's going to be one of the main men. He's going to be one of the main guys to be creative. And we know he's a left footer. We know what quality he's got. And, that level of player coming into Goodison Park is really important. But let me just also say this, Pete. There's Alan from Napoli, who I think they're nearly got over the line.
Yeah.
And there's Abdoulaye Doucouré from Watford, who they're looking to sign. I think that trio is the key to Everton, however they're going to do this season, because with that trio, Alan is an excellent player, Doucouré is an excellent player, box-to-box player, and James Rodriguez is that finesse. He's got quality, to add to that Everton team. And then I think that those three would help Everton make their move up the league.
Is that Carlo there sort of expanding and putting a spine of a team in, basically, isn't it?
100%. 100%. Look, Carlo Ancelotti, he knows it better than you and I, Pete. He knows what he needs. And he's gone out to go and get it. He's not messing around. He's gone out to get that Alan, that tenacious midfielder who not only is he tenacious, but he can pass, he can play. Doucouré, big, strong, aggressive, box to box, run all day. You need one of those in your team. And that bit of finesse, that subtlety, eye for a goal, pick a pass, James Rodriguez. I think there's three different players, but three players that are needed. And
what would be nice for Newcastle is that because it has been mentioned a couple of times, if that does happen, that Tom Davies at Everton could end up at St James's Park, a player that I think would fit in very well at the Toon.
Yeah, Tom Davies is a good player. The difficult thing for Tom Davies, I think, I reckon he's being asked to do too many different things at Everton, because you've got to be a great all-rounder at Everton, because the one player, Adriana Gissagay, who was there as that holding midfielder who can protect, that's gone now. And at one stage, Tom Davies is doing that. Next minute, he's playing a bit further forward. So he's being caught between two stools sometimes. So going to Newcastle, I think, could be a good move for him.
Fingers crossed. We can't leave the transfer without talking about the one and only Leo Messi. All sorts going on about Barcelona. But the story that popped up today, and I know that we talked a bit about it off air, there's been a GoFundMe page set up by the one and only Blythe Spartans. They've got a picture of Leo in a Blythe top, of course, and they're trying to raise 624 million to get Leo at the Spartans. They've raised 28 quid so far, so fair play to them.
Fair play. And if there's any wealthy benefactors out there watching, Blythe Spartans need your help. There's only 623 million and change to get to. But no, I think this is what football's about. It's about a good bit of banter. Yeah. And Leo Messi probably never heard of Blythe Spartans until now. So that's a good thing.
It was funny because just going back to Liverpool, and Jurgen Klopp was asked about that straight away, and he said that he wouldn't fit in to the Liverpool model. Man City, I can see him obviously being in Man City's team. It just seems right, doesn't it? Pep's there. It's Man City. They're a big, rich club. It's going to be City, isn't it? If he goes anywhere.
He's going nowhere, Pete. Let me tell you, he's going nowhere. Barcelona and La Liga, sorry, he's going nowhere. If he was going to leave, there's only really a handful of teams who could afford him anyway. And Man City are definitely one of them in the Premier League. And obviously, I think Aguero is godfather to Messi's kid or whatever. So, that is the obvious choice in the Premier League. The other team who he probably could go to is Paris Saint-Germain, who could afford him. And you imagine that front three: Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi. That would be delicious, wouldn't it? But I think if he's going to go in it, I think it's the Premier League where he'd like to go, because I think City need to get over the line in the Champions League, and I'm sure Messi would love to go out winning that Champions League again.
I just saw his house in Barcelona before, and I have to say to Blythe fans, if they can sell the chippy that they've got there down on the coast to him and his missus, I think they might be in with a chance.
Listen, Chippy. Listen, we never know. Lionel Messi might like a bit of chips, mate, in Blythe Spartans. We never know.
I don't think we'll ever know. So it is interesting. We are back. They're almost full speed. Brighton had some fans in back in the stadium, which was great. You said that there's been a lot of football on this weekend, but it is great to see the supporters back, isn't it?
Pete, football is nothing without the fans.
Yeah.
We suffered it at the back end of the restart, just to get football going and the season finished. But we got to be doing everything to get these fans back, because you know what? As a spectacle, it's not the same when the fans ain't there. It hasn't got the same feeling, and I'm sure the players feel it as well. The home advantage that you usually have, Pete, isn't there. When the fans ain't there. So let's get some fans back in.
Let's get the fans back in, indeed. And we are going to be still tuned into what's going on in the football. We can't wait for it. Congratulations to Arsenal once again. And as you say, Kev, Arteta, I think he's building something special. I'll say it quietly, but I think Arsenal are definitely going to be up there. Chelsea, it remains to be seen. They've got they've spent some money, but they've got a little bit of work to do for me. Man United, can they do it? City will obviously want to get back in, but it's all the pressure on Liverpool. It's going to be a heck of a season, and we'll be following it on Hollywood Balls.